Okay, and now it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce to you a wonderful Thailandese lady, Phetchompoo. Before I introduce her, let me just share one brief reflection with you. My interpretation of leadership is first, help the people find out exactly what they want. Second, guide them in the process of achieving how to do it to get what they want. And third, not to give up until the end is achieved, until you achieve your objective. Just share that with you. But really, let's talk about a more interesting thing, which is about Phetchompoo. Phetchompoo is a senior student at Durham University at the UK. She's 20 years old. She's studying philosophy, politics, and economics, a powerful mix. She has already exerted leadership in her country. Before the coup that took place in Thailand, you must have followed the news, and now there is a military government temporarily which has promised to change the institutions and go back to democracy next year. She has already made a contribution. She went back home last December, when there was in the midst of the turmoil, because of the democracy and the corruption they were having. The government had, in effect, legalized corruption. It had stopped or slowed down pending cases at the courts to process corruption. It had, in effect, overturned decisions on corruption, and the people of Thailand were just fed up. So they really began a very big, strong movement, which you must have followed up in the news, to overturn that corrupt democracy they were having. So Phetchompoo, that went home last December, got involved in the protest. And she spoke several times, including large audiences of about 100,000 people, giving her views and encouraging them to go forward with their process, showing a lot of courage already at her young age. The police, in effect, was not protecting the people, so they had to mend on their own. And she was threatened several times, but she kept on going, supporting the movements that were ongoing until the government was turned over and replaced by the military at the present time. So really, you can see why it is my privilege and pleasure to introduce this wonderful, courageous lady, which in the midst of her studies has already shown her interest in going back to her country and help them rebuild democracy for the development of the Thailandese people.
When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty. This powerful statement by Thomas Jefferson perfectly captured the spirit of the biggest uprising in Thailand's history. Allow me to take you back to the 1st of November 2013. At an unusually late 4 a.m. session, the Thai government pushed a blanket amnesty bill through the lower house of parliament. This bill sought to pardon anyone facing charges arising from the entirety of Thailand's political conflict from 2004 to 2010. While this may sound good on paper for the purposes of reconciliation, the fine details reveal something far more horrifying. If it had passed through the Senate, this particular amnesty bill would have exonerated many top politicians from corruption and criminal charges, dismissed pending court cases, and overturned court rulings on cases in connection with the conflict. For many, the passing of this bill was the final straw. It is one thing when the government uses populist policy to gain an electoral base, ruining the economy in the process. But it is entirely another when they attempt to legalize corruption. Now, let that sink in. Legalize corruption. In many countries around the world, the younger population become disillusioned with politics because of the amount of corruption, cronyism, and dishonesty in the system. However, in those cases, there was at least a chance that those who dared to commit such a crime would be rightly punished. When even that due process of the law is taken away, we know that it is time to stand up against this massive abuse of power. It was an extremely difficult task to embark on when more than 60% of the population still believes that corruption is acceptable as long as they too benefit from it. Anyone who challenges this notion is intimidated into silence. As a young Thai, I cannot just stand by and watch corruption become a national culture. So I joined the uprisings against the bill in an effort to inform the masses of the damaging effects of corruption and the true meaning of democracy. However, our movement was met with threat and violence. I spoke on 4 separate occasions in front of live audiences of over 100,000 people. Afterwards, people who disagreed with my views threatened to attack or even rape me if they ever saw me in the street. During the course of our 7-month-long peaceful protests, weapons of war, M16, M79 were used on the protesters. Our protest sites were attacked daily. 28 men, women, and children died. 834 others were injured. The criminals were never brought to justice. Now, they thought fear would make us back down. They were wrong. The more violence they used against us, the more our numbers swell, from hundreds to thousands, and from thousands to millions. Certain things were clear. This new generation of Thai are a lot more vigilant, a lot more politically aware, and a lot more politically involved. The heart of democracy lies in people's participation, and this uprising has achieved that and much more. Our protest came to an end when the military stepped in to maintain order. Like always, the international community were quick in their condemnation of the coup, but they overlooked how Thailand was grinding to a halt under the weight of all the civil protests. If the military had not intervened, further bloodshed would have been inevitable. We realized that the need for the military to step in is far from perfect, but the political system was failing. Something had to be done. There's still many issues we have to overcome as a nation, but we are determined to use this opportunity to reform our democracy once and for all. Finally, One Young World is coming to Bangkok next year, and I would like to invite all of you to come see for yourself a whole other side of Thailand that is dynamic and rich in culture. The Land of Smiles may be in the process of defining our democracy, but we are also ready to host this event, which has helped change the world for the better. So come along to the summit next year, and together we can help create a truly unified world that is both progressive and compassionate. Thank you.